Hello, District 98. Uh, Welcome to Cookout with Crum. This is going to be our third one, be the last one before I get elected, because I know you're all going to get out and vote, and I need your vote. We know it's going to be close. The more people that get out to vote, the odds go up that I win. So it's that simple. Um, the year I won, 2,000 more people voted than last year when I lost, and I won by almost 400 votes, and I lost by 130. So huge difference. We can just get people out to vote. I can win this. Honestly, a lot of people would like to see me win this because I'm running a clean campaign. Uh, I'm running a campaign to talk about what I want to do up there, what I did when I was there. Um, I'm not making up stuff about the candidate's personal life or anything else about what he's done. I'm talking about what I want to do and how I want to get it done. So, uh, if this is the first time you've ever joined us for a cookout with Crum, it's exactly what it sounds like. I prep up some stuff and I cook out and we talk policy. You can message uh, on right direct to Facebook right here on the video, or you can email at crumforkansas@gmail.com. My daughter's monitoring an email. My wife Paige is sitting right here next to me. She's going to be. She can let me know if questions come in on chat. So please feel free to shoot me some questions. First thing I'm going to cook tonight is actually I got to talking this. I said this is the third one I've done. I have yet to cook steaks for this. I've cooked hamburgers and I've cooked pork chops all different kinds of ways. So I bought some steaks this time. I'm gonna move the hamburgers over here for a second, and I'll show you what we got here. We got some steaks that have been marinating now for. I had them marinating for about an hour. They're just in some regular marinating sauce, uh, some seasonings that I sprinkled on it. It's also got some soy sauce, Worcestershire sauce. Uh, what else did I put in there? Some smoke sauce. And I've also cut up a bunch of jalapenos that we grew out here in our backyard and kind of let that sit in there too. So um, they've been marinated. And then I've got some Anaheim peppers that we grew out here too on top of the two bigger steaks. So that's what we're going to start off with. Now, I will say this is not the first time I've cooked steaks on here. It's the first time I've done it for Cookout with Crum. All the meats that I have here, I bought locally at Cash Savers. Um, Try to do a lot of our shopping either there or uh, different places here in District 98. Um, just trying to help the small businesses out in this area. And I also got, these are two ribeyes, and then there's two round steaks right here too. Eye round steaks. So we're going to get those going. And I don't know what we want to talk about first. Oh, question one. How do you like your steak? I like my steak medium, but on the medium rare side. If I go to a restaurant, I'm going to order it medium. I like it nice and red inside, lots of juice. Um, but I also don't like it too red. I want to see that it's been cooked, but I want all that flavor still in there. So I like mine medium. Uh, my daughter and my wife like theirs pretty medium rare, and so does Tracy, our oldest son, I believe. And I think the other two boys probably are kind of like me. They kind of like a medium. Which that's one thing. We're all spread out everywhere, so this is always kind of nice too because it gets a chance that the boys get to hang out and watch us who we're doing, and so does Olivia. Did I see another question pop up there? Because I can't see it now. But that's how I think what since March, Paige and I have been out to eat exactly one time, uh, and that was in June for our 24th wedding anniversary. Uh, we went to Outback Steakhouse where we had our first date. So having steaks here will be a treat. because we haven't really been getting out and doing that much, and I just haven't been cooking that much out here. Been kind of busy with the campaign the last couple of months. The question's gone, so you're gonna have to give it to me.
When you say you shop local, what does that mean? Repeat it.
When I The question is, when I say I shop local, what does that mean? I mean that like right now, I'm doing a lot of thank you cards. So I am going to a lot of the Dollar General stores that are in District 98. There's one in Hayesville. There's one at 47 on 47th Street between um, Broadway and Seneca. There's one that's not quite in District 98, but it's close up at Hoover, MacArthur. Just local stores like that. I try to pick those up when I go grocery shopping. We'll either hit Aldi's nearby, or we go to Cash Savers. Sometimes I go to Dillon's at 47th and Broadway, depending on what we're looking for. If I ever need anything from Walmart, I do my best to go to the Walmart at Pawnee and Broadway. It's a little bit farther for me than the one in Derby, but I feel like I need to make sure that we're supporting the businesses around here. So in District 98, so that's what I do. If uh, Paige and I decide we want a bottle of wine or do something like that, I try to go to a liquor store in District 98. There's about 12 to 16 of those. At least there was a couple of years ago. I know that from studying about them when we had a big bill come up. I contacted each owner of each liquor store uh, in District 98 and talked to each one of them to find out what they thought about that bill, which is something I try to make a habit of. Uh, because I don't own a liquor store. I have no idea how it worked. I didn't know how it would affect them. So I wanted to make sure to reach out to people that could tell me how it was going to affect them, what they wanted me to do. So that actually had to do with allowing the grocery stores to start to sell wine and strong beer. And at that time, I voted against it because the majority of the local uh, liquor store owners in District 98 told me they didn't want it. So I went with what they asked me to do. And honestly, I think they greatly appreciated that, even though they knew it was going to pass anyway. Um, but that's kind of what I mean about shopping local. Oh, we got question three.
I'll just say it. What wines go with your steak?
What wines good do you say? You know, I tell you that I am not a master cook. Uh, that I just kind of make these marinades up as I go, which actually, while the steak is going here, I'm going to go ahead and here's the stuffed peppers I did. See, they're poblano peppers, and they're stuffed with mozzarella cheese and bacon. And I'm just going to put them on the upper grill up here and kind of let them simmer while everything else is cooking. Um, I will drink wine when my wife decides it's time that we need to drink some wine. Um, and uh, I don't. I'm not somebody who worries about. I'm not going to drink alcohol. I'm not going to drink anything for that matter unless I like the taste. Um, so I guess my answer to that is I like white wine. I like sweet wines, not too sweet, but sweeter wine. So I like white Zinfandel, um, Staccato. No, I don't.
Moscato.
Pescato's too sweet
Moscato.
for me. Oh, Moscatos. So basically, I go off of what my wife tells me with that. I'm not going to deny it. It's not embarrassing at all. Uh, she likes red wine more than white, so she drinks a lot of reds, and so that's what she drinks. I like white, so sometimes if I go to the liquor store, I have to buy two bottles instead of one. Uh, but actually, that is something else I did today. I actually put a little bit of white Zinfandel in a couple of these marinades that we have going here. We had a little bottle in the fridge, and I decided what the heck. So, question four.
Can you explain your stance on the food tax?
Can I explain my stance on the food tax? Actually, I was just having an email with somebody about this today. My stack on the food tax is that we have the 49th highest food sales tax in the entire country. And while I'm talking about this, I'm going to put the pork chops on. And that is absolutely ridiculous. We have got to find a way to lower the food state tax, the state food sales tax on food. The biggest issue we have right now is COVID-19 and what it's done to our economy. So just going in and saying we're going to eliminate the tax right now would be reckless and would also really just not be feasible for the budget. So, uh, what my goal would be to get up there is to maybe help stimulate local farm economy and also help people is make farm and art and farm markets food, fresh grown produce and fruits, vegetables, and like honey that are grown here locally. Make those tax exempt right now, 100% tax exempt, and then kind of work our way up. My first goal would be to get. There's no way we're gonna have to get rid of the state food tax by steps. There's just no other way to do it because it would take too much of a hit in the budget. So you do that at farm and art markets. Then you go into your regular grocery stores, and I again would focus on what I like to do is see all the steps, the percentage go down. Right now we're like 7.9%, which is ridiculous. I'd like to see this drop that down to 5, and then down to 2.5, and then drop it down from there and try to get to 0. If we couldn't do a full drop like that, again, I would look at fresh foods in grocery stores. Uh, Honestly, if you want to go on a diet, you want to try to eat healthy, it costs so much more to eat healthy. It seems like the price of fresh vegetables and fresh fruit and homemade bread, all those things, it just seems like it's just more expensive. And I think if we made those tax exempt first and then started cutting down the things as the year go on and say in 4 or 5 years or even 5 or 6 years, try to have all the food sales tax down to 0, but kind of step it down like that a little bit. Help people eat a little bit healthier, help them encourage to maybe buy some healthier food. Um, at the same time, we're also saving money and trying to help our economy recover with the farmers and help people be able to have an easier time of putting food on the table. And that's going to be a big thing up there too. And I will say that trying to find a way to lower it is something that both parties agree on. Uh, I think there might be some disagreements on how to do it though. But everybody wants to do it. That's why I think I would be a good idea up there because I will get up there and I will work with everybody. Um, I don't care if they're Republican. I don't care if they're Democrat. I want to get up there. People who have ideas, I want to listen to them and see if we can come up with a good idea that's going to improve the state. And we need more people to do that instead of people that are just up there to listen to the leadership or whatever they're going to say. I'm not up there to represent leadership. I'm up there to represent the people of District 98. And that's what I'll do. So that was a good question. Okay, so I've got 6 pork chops going on here. We got 4 steaks. Um, and then, like I said, I've got my stuffed peppers up here on top. They're not really touched. I may shut this for about 2 minutes. Um, while I'm doing this, I know goes away from answering questions about it, but while I'm on here, I publicly want to make sure everybody knows how much I appreciate the work my wife and my daughter have been doing with me on this campaign. Uh, the amount of work that goes into a campaign is incredible. Uh, my daughter's in Massachusetts. We meet every day every day, every week for 2 to 3 hours on a video to talk about how things are going. She organizes everything. She keeps my social media going. She does my Twitter page. She does my Facebook page. She'll get stuff ready. I just have to look it over, okay it. Um, she has me take pictures and she puts the pictures up. She's doing this tonight to make sure everything's set up right. She goes through all the live events I've done and sets stuff up. She did my YouTube page. So I just can't thank her enough. And then my wife's also my treasurer. And the amount of work we've had on this campaign is mind boggling. And at the same time, she's juggling, doing the fantastic job she does as the president of the board of the Hayesville School Board during COVID and everything. So I just wanted to publicly put that out there that my daughter and my wife have done an incredible amount of work on this. And now I have another question.
Who are you endorsed by? I've seen that some Democrat leaders put your name on their list. But you claim to be bipartisan, and the governor three states aren't even in District 98.
That is true. They are not in District 98. If you'll notice on that list, though, I'm also endorsed by Mary Martha Good, who was a Republican uh, representative up there when I was up there. Um, fantastic gentleman named Marvin Miller that I work with. That's a Republican, has endorsed me. I've been in. I don't know if I've been publicly endorsed by the representative of District 93 yet, but he has certainly been putting out some things about my opponent. Um, I've been endorsed by 4 or 5 different unions. I've been endorsed by KNEA. I've been endorsed by the Teachers Union in Wichita. I've been endorsed by the Bankers Union.
Need to repeat the question.
Oh, for those of you that didn't hear, the question was asking about who I've been endorsed by and about how I talk about being bipartisan, yet there's some Democratic leaders that I've been endorsed by that aren't even from District 98. And that's true. And honestly, some of the unions I've been endorsed by might not be based in District 98. Several people who are belong to unions, though, are in District 98. And those are the people that have interviewed me, and they're the ones that let their headquarters know who they believe should be endorsed. So, yes, Governor Kelly has endorsed me. When I was up there in 17 and 18, I had a chance to sit on a couple of different committees that Governor Kelly was on as a senator at that time. And of course, I know Lynn Rogers quite well too. So they're endorsing me honestly because they know that I work with everybody up there and they think that I'm a good legislator. I don't think it's because I'm a Democrat. I think it's because they know that I'd be good at the job because they know that I put in the effort and that I'm up there to represent people, uh, not leadership, and honestly, not multinational corporations. I'm there to the working people of Kansas is who I'm going up there to represent. Good question. And on my Facebook, excuse me, on my webpage, crumforkansas.com, you can see a whole list of who I've been endorsed by. And yes, Cerise Davis is in there. She actually has a pack that endorsed me. And you'll see Governor Kelly. But like I said, you'll also see some Republicans on there. They may not be listed as Republicans, they're just individuals, but some of them are Republicans as well. Saying I am going to have to check the stakes here soon. Say this is, I said, mentioned that this was the third one of these that we've done. We've always had to put a screen up because it's been too light with the sun. And hey, we're getting a little bit later in the year, and now I had to put a light up because we were afraid we weren't going to have enough light to finish up here. So that's a little bit different. Let's see. I think we just saw a question come in. Unfortunately, when I've got the video going, I can't see the questions. Don't stab yourself. My wife's juggling a fork and a knife while she's trying to grab her computer.
Why would an elementary teacher be qualified to be a representative?
Why would an elementary teacher be qualified to be a representative? Well, first off, people in the House are supposed to be representative of the people in their districts. And I think a school teacher is pretty representative of what the citizens in District 98 represent and do. I think we probably have a lot of school teachers in this area and a lot of people who have other professional jobs similar. Still got a ways to go on those. And also, yes, I'm a school teacher and I've been doing that for 21 years. Uh, I'm also a city council member in Hayesville. If you don't know that much about Hayesville, other than it's a suburb of Wichita, we have about 12,400 people. I have been a uh, city council member here in Ward 3 from 2001 till 2010. And then my family, we moved inside of the city, but I changed wards, so I had to give up my seat. And I now live in Ward 1. And in 2013, I decided to run for city council again. I'm on city council uh, still. So I got elected in 13 for Ward 1. I'm still there now. So I've been doing city council work for a long time. I've been on, um, before that, I was on planning commission. That was my first little wading into the political field. Was on the planning commission here in Hayesville. You'll notice that was in 2000, so that was basically right after the tornado. in 1999. There was a lot of work that needed to be done, and Tim Norton, who was mayor of Hayesville at that time, asked me to be on the planning commission, so I did that. Um, while I've been on the council, I've been president of the council for multiple times. I've been in charge of park board. I've been on several committees, the tree board. I've been on finance committee. I've been on rec committee. So I've got a lot of experience other than just being a teacher. But like I said, there are a lot of people up there in Topeka that don't even have a college degree, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they are probably less prepared than some people that have a degree, or at least a 2 year college degree of some sort, or a certificate. Um, so I don't feel, when I was up there for 2 years, I did not feel like I was out of my element at all. So I feel comfortable being a teacher. You also have to be a leader. You learn to work with a lot of different people that have a lot of different, let's say, quirks. And honestly, a lot of the behaviors you see at an elementary school, I saw in Topeka too. So I think you kind of see that on TV during the ads and on the ads on social media and in the mail as well. Um, Sometimes people just don't really act like adults. And we got another question.
How has being an elementary teacher, what has it taught you about conflict resolution and how can you take that to Topeka?
Well, like I said, I see a lot of the same behaviors.
Repeat it.
Uh, they're asking me how being an elementary school teacher actually could prepare me to deal with some of the conflicts and things you have in Topeka. Uh, you have to make a connection with students, and I'm not going to lie to you. It's probably a little bit tougher to make a connection at the elementary school level than it is at the high school or the middle school level. Because by that time, maybe like I was a coach or I am a coach, so I can make sports connections. The elementary school level, you're more like making connections about what they do for fun, what they're interested in. I'm a kind of a science geek. I really like dinosaurs and I like space and I like earth sciences. So I'll try to nose around there, and if I can get a kid to mention something he really is interested in, and it's something that I actually know some stuff about, I'll just start giving them information about it. And they usually kind of get a kick out of that. So what I mean by that is, so how does that translate to Topeka? It's before you can start solving problems and coming up with solutions, you have to find out where your starting point is, and a starting point's always got to be something that you can agree on. And so if you work with somebody and you can talk to them and you can visit and you can find out, well, we know this is what we want to do, so you have a starting point. And then from that starting point is where you kind of have to work backwards and you figure out how they want to do it, how you want to do it, and where you can come up with compromises and different ideas so that you can accomplish what you both want to do. Um, like I said, they say with compromise a lot of times that means that nobody's happy. Uh, but that's how some of the best stuff is done. And when you compromise on something and something gets done that needs to be done, you should be happy anyway, even if you didn't get everything you wanted. Um, you know that the ultimate goal was done, and you need to be happy about that and know that you did something that should make things better for the people of the state of Kansas. Nope. Got another question?
I've never grilled before. What are you doing when you move and poke at the steaks? Repeat it.
Okay. Somebody said they never grilled before, and so they're wondering how. I'm not really poking the steaks. Actually, I poke the steaks when I marinated them. Before I put them in a marinade, I make sure I run kind of a fork over them real good, piercing them and stuff, and so that they can soak up the marinade a little better. Once you get them on the grill, uh, you want to try to cook them evenly. So you'll see a little thing. It's kind of a spatula on one side and a tong on the other side. Um, you just want to cook them evenly. And you saw me. I don't know if you saw earlier. Paige brought me a knife and a fork, and I cut into the steaks to see how the steaks were going. Uh, so it's just that's all I'm doing is just trying to cook them evenly. You want to have the sides down about the same amount of time. You want to look at them and see one side's looking like it's getting cooked more than the other. Then maybe you lost track, and you need to just kind of pay attention to that. I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of times when I'm cooking out here, I set me a timer, and I'll flip them every, depending on what they are. These are all pretty thick, so I probably flip these like every 5 minutes. And I probably flip them about 4 times, and we'd probably be good. If it's a skinny pork chop, I'll flip them every 2 minutes, and I'll only do that about 2 or 3 times. So a lot of that depends on what the meat is, the thickness of it. The thickness is what's really important, um, and it's trial and error, just like just about anything else you do. Like I said, I am not a master chef by any stretch of the imagination. Everything I'm doing, like I said, I added wine in my marinade today, which I haven't done, and I added some fresh jalapenos that I think may make this a little bit spicier than we're used to, but that's okay. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just flipping them, trying to keep them cooked fresh.
Why aren't you sending out mailers like Ron is?
Um, why am I not sending mailers out like Ron is? And if you didn't hear, my wife told me to be respectful because, needless to say, it gets a little frustrating. Um, I'm a school teacher. I'm a dad. I'm a coach. I think it's really important that people understand that the way you represent yourself, even when you're trying to win something, says a lot about the type of person you are. And I want to make sure that my students and that my kids and my wife and my parents understand that I'm going to run a clean campaign and talk about what I'm going to do. You will notice on 3 or 4 of my mailers, there is a little section maybe that shows a couple of votes that Ron had. Uh, those are strictly to show how Ron voted compared to how I would have voted. And all of those are cited. They tell you what bill it is and what that bill covered. Uh, you'll notice a lot of the things, and I'll be totally upfront here. Ron is not sending all those out. Some of them are coming from the Republican Party. We've also got some really awful stuff out on social media that's been put out by a separate group, Kansas for Life, that is not true. And as sad as it is, there's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is hope that people pay attention to what I'm doing and respect what I'm doing. And I guess my feeling is that people are really tired of mudslinging campaigns. They'll make sure that they start electing people that don't do that. Uh, and I've still got some more mailers coming out, and you're going to see the same thing. You're not going to see me slinging mud. You're going to see me talking about what I want to do up there. So thank you for noticing. Check these states. Probably just about done. Huh? Oh, I'm going to pull these off real quick. The steaks are done. I don't believe the pork chops are, but the steaks are. And I've been informed by my daughter that I'm supposed to make sure everybody gets to see what they look like. Hey, that one tried to get away. The other side looks so much better. Here we go. So here's the 4 steaks that we got. They look pretty. Ooh, there's a little bit of juice coming out of there. I think those all came out pretty good. So I still got some pork chops on here and my peppers going on here. And I'm going to hand that to Paige, and I am going to make some room on here. We're going to put some hamburgers on. Um, so we're going to have to, like I mentioned earlier, uh, when I did the other two, we were worried about it being too bright out here, and now we're going to have to worry about running out of light. So, ready to shoot me some more questions if you're ready. Um, a lot of interesting stuff going on in Kansas right now. Um, we've got to do something about healthcare. I haven't had anybody ask me about it tonight. It's probably because they're sick of hearing me talk about it. Um, we have got to expand Medicaid in this state. Um, 38 or 39 states have done that already. Uh, those people are literally having billions of federal tax dollars come into their states, and we're literally having billions of tax dollars not come into our states. Um, and the problem is we've got 150,000 people with not access to affordable health care at all, and that was before the pandemic. And I've been telling everybody, I haven't seen any new numbers or stuff, but the majority of people that have health care, health insurance, they have it through their work. And since last March, how many people have lost their job? And you can't tell me that some of those people aren't now finding themselves without health care. So I believe that 150,000 is much higher now. And so we have got to expand Medicaid. And when I was up there in 17, 18, I actually ran that on the floor as an amendment to try and get that passed. And I had a chance to vote for it 3 or 4 different times, and I voted yes every single time. My opponent has voted no on it every single time he's had an opportunity. And I know there are plenty of people here in District 98 that need it passed.
Why aren't you knocking doors? I remember you coming by last time with you.
They're asking about knocking doors. They haven't seen me come by their house this year. It really comes down to the fact that I'm an elementary school teacher. I have type 2 diabetes. My parents are in their 80s. They actually had a lot of health trouble this summer. I've been working trying to kind of take care of them too. But working at an elementary school and being around 500 kids every day, I have to worry about their health. I have to worry about my health. So I'm not knocking doors. In other words, I'm sending out more letters. I've been making some phone calls. Um, And some of the letters I've been sending out are more personal letters. They're not mailers per se. There may be letters that have information about me or what I want to do and stuff like that. But that's why I haven't been knocking doors, is because I'm around so many people. I don't want to spread something to somebody knocking the door, and I also don't want to bring something back into the school. And I really don't want to catch something and accidentally, and I'm doing my best to, and this sounds really sad, but I don't think a lot of people really understand this about people in the medical field and also teachers right now, is we have to really limit how much we see family, especially older family. Um, I just don't get to go see my parents as much. And when I do, I wear a mask, or they stay inside the house and I stay outside the house. My sister's a teacher too. Same thing. We just don't really get to go in and spend time with them like before. We don't get to hug them. Uh, and they're in their 80s. You really wish you could do that. But that's why I'm not knocking doors, and I really hope people understand that. And I think they will actually. Have any other? Oh,
Yep. The question is, why do you want to be the representative?
they want to know why I want to be the representative. And I don't have a good answer for that. Um, when I was growing up, uh, my dad and my mom were very active in their community. My dad was on city council here in Hayesville. He was mayor for several years. Um, I just grew up understanding that you should be a part of your community, and if you thought you could make your community better, you should step up and do it. Um, I feel like I have kind of the heartbeat of District 98. I understand what they need here, what they expect, what they deserve, um, and I feel comfortable fighting for that. And I know not everybody would feel comfortable fighting for it, and I know not everybody might not want to do that for the right reasons. So I guess I feel like it's almost like a need that I do it, because people from District 98 need somebody to step up and do it. And I was raised to believe that if you can do it, go for it. And I that's why. It's just because I feel like it's what you need to do.
Is there anything that triggered your decision to go ahead and file?
Is there anything that triggered my decision to file? This time, yes. Uh, I was already thinking about it, and I lost the election in 2018, and in 2019, when that session started, toward the end of the session, they were having trouble getting a budget passed, and a bipartisan group of House members, Republicans and Democrats, decided, you know what, we're not going to pass a budget until we get a vote on Medicaid expansion. So they brought a budget up. The budget actually looked pretty good, uh, but everybody in this coalition, this bipartisan coalition, voted no. So the budget didn't pass. Well, that really made the leadership of the Republican Party uh, really, really upset. And so they publicly came out and said they were basically putting out a revenge budget. They were going to be really sorry they didn't pass this budget because the next budget is going to be a lot worse. So the next budget came out and it had cuts for hospitals, it had cuts for higher ed, it cut out some stuff that was going to be set up for the foster care system. It was truly a horrible bill. Um, it was so bad that only 42 Republicans voted for it. Um, all the leadership did, and then a few of the other representatives who honestly just do what the leadership tells them to do. And Ron Howard was one of those 42 people. Um, the very next day, I announced on Facebook that I was going to run again um, because it was pretty obvious that we didn't have anybody representing the people of District 98. The budget was so bad, it was just awful. So that's why I decided to run again, just to keep stuff like that from happening.
Here's a question. How are you going to fix all the jobs that were lost because of COVID-19? If businesses don't open back up, we won't get our jobs back.
Uh, First off, what I they want to know how they're going to get jobs back if we don't get businesses back open due to COVID. I'm not going to lie to you. One thing we need to do in this city, in District 98, the area of Wichita, metropolitan area, is we need to expand what jobs we have available. Um, First off, the jobs that we already have, the businesses that we already have, small businesses. I want to get up there. I want to work to get low interest loans going so that they can stay open. And I also want to work with grants. And the way those grants would work, if you're a small business and you get a grant, so you wouldn't have to pay it back, but to be eligible to not pay it back over the next 2 years, you would have to hire the same number of staff back plus a certain percentage. So let's say you had 20 employees, you get a grant. That means that in 2 years you have to have those 20 employee that number of 20 hired plus let's say 10%. So you have to have two more people hired. Did I say 25 or 20? 20. So two more people hired. And if you accomplish that within that time frame, then that grant would truly be a grant. You wouldn't have to pay that back. I think offering that kind of help uh, would be really, really important to our businesses and can keep some of them afloat. I also am not going to lie to you, the state could not do all this on their own. We've got to get some help from federal partners. That's why I think it's also important that you get somebody that's a good communicator, somebody that's willing to talk and listen, uh, because we're going to have to really work with our congressional leadership in Washington too to make sure we can get some federal help. Uh, but I also want to diversify the types of jobs we have here. We have got to stop relying so heavily on aircraft. We've got to try to bring in some other things. We figure out communications. We've got to figure out stuff to do with wind and solar energy. You got to build all that stuff. We've got the people that already know how to do it. Um, People know we have a fantastic workforce here. We've got to look for cutting edge things uh, to make more opportunities and make training for those opportunities available for the people who don't have work right now. That was a good question too. And guys, everything we're dealing with right now is brand new because we've never had a pandemic like this before. Um, you know, over what are we at? Almost like 225,000 Americans have died now just since March. So it's all new. We have to find out things. Um, and we got to come up with good ideas so you can have people that are willing to listen and to think and to come up, think outside the box as well. And believe me, as an educator, you learn to think outside the box, especially when you're doing some classes remotely, some in person. Uh, Teachers are doing a lot of things outside the box right now. Oh, got another question? And I'm also going to kind of touch base on voting.
Democrats want to raise taxes to give to welfare and waste money on nonsense like playgrounds and wasteful programs. You want those things too. It's obvious.
Okay, so Democrats want to
Raise taxes
raise taxes
for welfare.
for welfare people and for silly things like playgrounds, and they can tell that I want to do that too. A couple of things there. First off, it depends on what you talk about raising taxes. If there's anybody on here right now that makes, as an individual, makes over $250,000 a year, or makes $500,000 a year as a couple, I apologize, but I would not mind adding a section in our income tax and add another group in there, and it would just be that group. That's the only tax increase I would be looking at right now. If something happens because of the budget, because of COVID, is I would look at taxing the people at money over that amount. So $250,000 as an individual or $500,000 as a couple. Now, I'm going to kind of disagree with your comment about silly things like playgrounds and stuff. Um, First off, those are called quality of life items, and just about every major employer, before they come into a city, they're going to look to see what quality of life is, what the school districts are like, because it's not going to do any good to put a business here if you don't want to have people that want to come live here. And they look at quality of life, but those are huge. Um, as far as welfare, uh, I think the use of welfare is highly exaggerated. I think most people that are on welfare are struggling and they're trying to come out of that. Are there going to be able bodied people that are taking advantage of the system? Yes. But that number is minuscule compared to the people that actually need it, the families that need it. You know, people want to argue about the abortion issue. And I totally understand that, and I understand both sides. But I can tell you, if you want to try to cut down on abortion, one thing you can do is make make things happen so that people who are having the children that are uh, maybe underage, maybe not very old, they're not settled yet, they don't have a great job. You need to have programs available for them so that they'll go ahead and have those babies. Um, and you want those babies to grow up healthy, and you want them to be able to have a healthy baby, so they need health care. So that, I mean, if you want to look at that as wasting money, then I suppose that's your opinion. I don't look at it as wasting money. I look at it as trying to give people the best chance they have to get back on their feet, because that's what the majority of those people are doing, I believe. I'm gonna check the pork chops. They should be about done. Pork chops I got this time are really thick, and I put them on after the steaks. I think they're good. So we're gonna get ready to take the pork chops off here. Uh, Voting, guys, I need you to get out and vote. Um, it's really, really important. We have mail-in ballots are going out right now. A lot of people have already had a chance to send those in. Honestly, if you're sick and tired of getting stuff in the mail and getting phone calls, if you get your vote by mail and once it registers that you have voted already, most of those people that are putting those out, they run lists. And if you vote, your name comes off of that list and you're going to stop getting those. Unfortunately, you're still going to have to watch the silliness on TV, but you will have to get the phone calls or the mail. Uh, and then starting next week on the 19th, uh,
That's last week.
excuse me?
This is the 22nd.
Oh, Yes, it is. Satellite ones will open on the some of the satellites that open on the 19th. Intrust Bank you can vote at. The old courthouse you can vote at. And I believe it's starting next week. There's going to be satellite places all over the city. I believe there's 19 of them where you can vote. And the way those are set up, anywhere you live in Sedgwick County, you can go to. If you live in Sedgwick County, you can go to any early voting site and you can vote there. Uh, if you go wait until November 3rd and actually vote on voting day, you have to go to your individual polling place. You can find out the locations of all of those things uh, on my website or on my Facebook page, but you can also go to Sedgwick County Election Office, and their very front page has got all that information. You can click on it. They'll show you where all those locations are uh, and talk about the times that they're open. And there's also drop boxes. If you have a mail-in ballot and you do not want to drop it in the mail, there's 14 locations that have drop boxes. I know one of those locations is in Hayesville at the police department. One of those locations is at the Derby Library. Uh, and then there's two other locations south of Kellogg. Uh, I do not remember where they're at right off the top of my head. I believe I may have actually covered that in one of my weekly talks last week, if you're interested in that. I think we got another question.
What's the difference between cooking pork chops, steak, and your veggies? Is it the same time? Is it the same topping?
They're asking about what's different about cooking pork chops, steaks, and veggies and hamburgers. Do they all cook the same amount of time? Do you season them all the same? Uh, the answer to that is I season all my steaks the same, no matter what kind of steak it is, but I season them different than I season my hamburgers, and I season them different than I do pork chops. Um, the the vegetables I did today were actually that's the only the third time I've ever grilled vegetables out here. So still kind of figuring those out. Those don't you don't want them to be to get as much heat. You want them to be kind of warmed up over time. So I usually put those up here on my top grill so they're not directly underneath the fire. And that kind of cooks those up. As far as the steak, the marinade I make is similar for pork chops and steaks. The steaks will get some stuff to give them more of a charcoal flavor. And I didn't this time because my wife doesn't like it, will make my pork chops a little sweeter. So I might uh, throw some soy sauce or something on with those. Uh, what is it? Teriyaki sauce, which I didn't do this time, but you can do if you like sweet food. That's a good thing to marinate with. Uh, and then hamburgers, I buy. Actually, did something a little bit different today. I bought. I always do the onion soup mix. Just mix it in. Today, while I was doing that, I decided what the heck, and I took some bacon salad crumbles, real bacon, not the Bacos, but real bacon, and I mixed that in there too. So these hamburgers all have a little bit of bacon in them. So we're going to see how that turns out. I've never done that before. And how long you cook them, honestly, depends on uh, how thick they are. You're always going to. We talked about how we like our steaks medium or medium rare, so we're not going to cook those as long as they're cooked with pork chops because you got to have your pork chops done all the way through. Honestly, I don't cook a lot of chicken because I'm nervous about cooking chicken because I got to make sure that it's all done. Um, so the answer is no. You're going to cook them all a little bit different depending on their size and how you want them cooked. Uh, and marinating is really up to you. Do you want it sweet? Do you want something spicy? I do put a little bit of jalapeno the juice in a jar of jalapeno. I'll put those in a little bit to kind of give it a little bit of kick. So you can marinate with whatever you want. Yes, I usually marinate a little bit different from beef than I would with pork.
When people campaign and the mailers come out, everybody makes themselves look like they're the best one. How can we trust those? Because not everybody is the best one.
How can you trust the mailers? Um, Guys, I'm not going to lie to you, you can't. You've got to look and see who puts the mailer out. If they have things that are cited on the mailer, look and see if those things are truly what they say they are. Um, and one thing you can do is reach out to friends that you know that might be politically active that might know a little bit more about it. And one thing in my case, I know I would definitely recommend is almost everything you see, they tell you to reach out to the candidate. They have some kind of contact in there. Reach out for the candidate and ask them about something that's on a mailer. Ask them if it's true. Ask them to how can you show me that that's true? And that's really all you can do. Look back at the record and see if what they're talking about is really true. I know that perhaps some people that really aren't bipartisan and really haven't worked to improve healthcare are advertising that way, and that's really not the fact. And it's really pretty easy to check if you just check their voting record. Probably going to take a couple more questions, and then we're going to wrap up because I'm about done with everything. Actually, why don't you just sit back?
This one wants to know how how grilling is like legislating.
How is grilling like legislating? Well, I'm not going to lie to you. If I was making a casserole or or a stew, it would be a lot more like legislating. Cooking on the grill is it would be hard to say it's like legislating because when you get done, hopefully you have something that looks good, that came out the way you wanted it to come out. Um, but I talked about earlier about how a lot of people understand that when you want something as somebody else, but you may come up with different ways. Apparently, there's sirens going off, and the neighbors' dogs are enjoying it. They're singing for us. Is when you're making compromises to come up with solutions, things aren't going to come out perfect. You're not going to have a perfectly uh, round. No, you can't see them. It's too dark. Uh, Somebody asked if they could see the dogs. There's some huskies we have that live next door, and they let our Bailey know when she's supposed to bark. But so no, grilling is not like because when you get done, you want a perfect steak or a perfect pork chop or a perfect hamburger. When you legislate, you're very rarely going to come out with something that's perfect. But hopefully, it's something that's going to nourish people and help them in the long run, and that's what you're after. Wow, those guys aren't going to stop, are they?
Okay, they want to see the dogs.
I can't show you the dogs, guys. It's just too dark.
You can film it.
They're across the yard kind of, and they're behind a fence. So sorry. Hey, I probably got time for one more question, and then we're going to wrap it up. If we have another question,
It's being typed.
it's being typed in right now. We've got there you go, some steaks and some pork chops. I hope the video didn't just die.
No.
Okay. And some hamburgers and some peppers are underneath the hamburgers right there. Um,
They want to see our dog.
oh, somebody wants. There you go. This isn't one of the dogs that's barking, but here's Bailey. She just got her hair cut. She got a little Halloween thing here, but this is our little girl. She is Olivia's dog. Uh, Bailey is 13 years old, I think. Um, so she's the one that keep us entertained along with our cat Soots while our kids are off gallivanting all over the United States and the world for that matter.
If I want to learn more, how can I contact you?
If you want to learn more, earlier I said get a hold of me. 316-491-1977 is my phone number. You can email me at crumforkansas.com. You can message me on Facebook on the page you're watching right now. You can message me on Twitter. You can message me on Instagram. Both of those, I'm Steve Crum One. That's the digit one. It's at Steve Crum One. Um, Send me a mail. Call any way you can find me on social media or my phone. Please feel free to call me and ask me questions. I'm more than happy. I'm wide open. If I'm going to give you an answer you're not going to like, that's still the answer I'm going to give you if that's the answer I've got.
You talked a lot about your family. How do they factor into you being in Topeka and working all the time?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. The first couple of times, they want to know how having a family can impact being working so much and being in Topeka and stuff. When I was in there 17 and 18, uh, this decision was a little bit easier this year. Uh, a couple other times I've run it was a lot tougher to make a decision because I had kids that were in high school um, and middle school, and they were active in academics and sports, and I felt like I was missing stuff. So it was hard, but before I made that decision, I talked to them. And I think uh, my youngest son, Dane, who, again, when I did this and got elected uh, in 17, the election was in 16. Dane was coming up, and he was doing a lot of. He was a three sport letterman at campus, uh, so I was going to miss a lot of his stuff. Um, and I asked him, and he said, "Dad, you have always come to stuff I do, stuff Dawson does, stuff Tracy does, Olivia does, your whole life." He said, "Right now, I think Kansas needs you more than I need you at my games," uh, which really hit me. Not the fact that my kids love me that much, uh, to understand that, but they understand the situation and that they believe that I can do a good job. Uh, and before I run for anything like this, I make sure I talk to them about it. Paige has to be totally on board with it. The kids have to be on board with it before I make a decision to do something like this. And then we all pull together. This, like I said, this just isn't me. I mentioned uh, Paige and Olivia today about all the work that they do on it. You know, the boys do what they can, and I know they have my back. So that's really all I can ask for. I'm gonna wrap it up. It's dark outside. Got a bunch of food here.
Promote social media and ask if they want sign.
Greatly appreciate you guys joining me. If you live in District 98, and if you're not sure, you can go on my website, crumforkansas.com. There's a couple of tabs, and one of them says about District 98. You can see a map, and it's also been posted on this Facebook page recently. Um, if you would like a sign, please message me on this page, and I'll be glad to get you a sign this weekend. I'm going back out either tomorrow or Saturday to get some more signs out. Let me know if you'd like one. Again, crumforkansas.com. You're on my Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram is at Steve Crum1. Phone number is 316 491 1977. I encourage you to please get out and vote. Please encourage other people to get out and vote. If people need a ride, ask them if you can give them a ride. If you're having trouble finding a way to get there, get a hold of me. I'll see what I can do to make sure that we can make sure people get to the polls. Um, Everybody have a great evening. Thanks a lot for joining me, and I appreciate your time. Thanks a lot. Everybody take care.